In this video, you will learn how to graph the tangent function using the equation 3 tan of 2x plus 4 pi plus 1. So the first thing we want to do before we graph the function is we want to find the amplitude, the horizontal shift, the phase shift, and the vertical translation. By doing that, we can use the equation of a tan of b of x plus or minus h plus or minus k to help us. So a is the amplitude, b is the horizontal shift, h is the phase shift, and k is the vertical translation. So when we find a, or amplitude, we see that 3 is the amplitude. For the b value, which is the horizontal shift, we see that the b value is 2. The h value, h is also known as the phase shift. H is 4 pi. And then the vertical translation, also known as the k value, is, we see that it is up 1. So now let's go back to the b value. We use the b value to find the period, and the period is one full cycle of the tangent function, and the equation to find the period is 2 pi over b. And so we take this b value and substitute it in. So the equation will be 2 pi over 2 then, and we see that both the 2's cancel out and we get pi. So the period is equal to pi. Next, we are going to graph the function. So we will start with the amplitude and the vertical translation. Because the vertical translation is up 1, that means the graph will be shifted up 1. Sometimes the graph will start in the origin, but in this case, the first point will start at 0, 1. And so to find the max and the minimum of the graph, we use the amplitude. So going off the vertical translation, and we see that the amplitude is 3, we know that the max is 4. So the maximum of the graph will be 4, and the minimum of the graph will be -2. Next, we will graph the first line, which will be on 0, 1. And so since the period is pi, every time we move over pi, a vertical asymptote which will occur. So if we move over pi, the first vertical asymptote to occur will be pi over 2. So there will be a vertical asymptote there. And then the same thing will occur on the negative side of the x-axis. And so there will be a vertical asymptote at negative pi over 2. So we will then graph this line of the tangent function. And again, the maximum will be 4 and the minimum will be -2. So for the second line, we will shift over pi from the first line, and the next line will occur at pi, and same thing on the negative side of the x-axis. So the the next line will occur at negative pi. Because the next line occurs at pi, the next vertical asymptote will occur at 3 pi over 2. So we can then graph this line. And same thing on the left side. The next vertical asymptote will occur at negative 3 pi over 2. And we can graph it. So for the next line, we will shift over pi, and that will lead us to 2 pi. And then same thing for the left side, negative 2 pi. And the next vertical asymptote will occur at 5 pi over 2. And again, the graph is shifted up 1, so we will graph it like all the other lines. And then we're going to repeat this on the left side. It'll be, the vertical asymptote will be negative 5 pi over 2. And then again, we will graph it. Now the next line will be at 3 pi because we shifted over pi. And when this vertical asymptote shifts over pi, that will lead us to the next vertical asymptote, which will be at 7 pi over 2. And then we graph it. And then we will, again, like previously, we will repeat that same action on the left side of the x-axis. So the next line will occur at negative 3 over pi, and the next vertical asymptote will occur at negative 7 pi over 2. And then we will graph it. And then the last line we will graph it, and it will occur at 4 pi and negative 4 pi also. And then the next vertical asymptote when we shift over pi will occur at 9 pi over 2. And same thing on this side, negative 9 pi over 2. And we will graph both those lines. And that is how you graph the equation 3 tan of 2 of x plus 4 pi plus 1.